What in the actual did I just watch? I just got done watching episode 9 of Dexter Resurrection, and oh my god, am I devastated. Now, going into this episode, many people speculated by the title Touched by an Angel that something of importance would happen or be in relation to Batista, but nothing could have prepared me for the way this episode ended up concluding. Now, from where we were left off in episode 8, it was revealed to us that Prater figured out that Dexter has a son, but unlike what many people thought, Prater in fact didn't know that Red was actually Dexter Morgan, aka the bayharborbutcher, yet. And it was for the perfect reason of getting Angel Batista in the line of fire between their clashing rivalry. The way they set this up was pretty clever, with Batista now being completely disowned by the NYPD and considered crazy. This is what essentially leads him to the chaotic events that unravel towards the end with Prater, Dexter, and Charlie. However, by far the moment no one could have anticipated was what happened with Batista in the trophy room. As we saw, Batista ends up finding out who Dexter was hanging around with, aka Prater, whom Angel thinks is in danger. But to Batista's disadvantage, he has no clue that Prater has a serial killer club and that he's overall a bad dude. But this point right here is something that I'd find doesn't make much sense in terms of Batista's character. In this season of Dexter compared to others, Batista finally appears to be on business, finding out clever ways to hunt down Dexter. But what I, and probably many people, missed in this episode was the idea that Batista never once thought to stop and think, why might the bayharborbutcher be going after this guy? It couldn't be possibly because the butcher only goes after the worst of the worst, right? This to me was kind of a plot hole, but hey, maybe Batista was just tunnel visioned in the moment, like we will see heavily towards the end of the episode. Anyways, Prater, like we could have guessed, sees Batista as a threat to not only his club, but now the one and only serial killer he loves the most, Dexter Morgan. But in one of the most poetic ways possible, Batista is revealed to be now strapped up to Brian Moser's infamous kill table. The reason as to why this resonates deeply is because in season 1, Dexter was forced to take out his very own brother, and this time Prater is forcing him to take out his former friend. But the difference here is that Brian deserved it as he fit the code, and Batista was simply doing what he does best, which is being an officer of the law. However, this is where I had another slight issue with the plot. Prater knows better than anyone that Dexter, aka the bayharborbutcher, only goes for killers, not innocent individuals. More specifically, those who slip out of the justice system. Knowing this, how could he expect Dexter to kill him? Why wouldn't he find someone who might actually deserve it, like another killer? I don't know, maybe the bayharborbutcher, as the show's universe knows it, is slightly more gray rather than black and white. But one thing that I found truly devastating, and honestly kind of hilariously dumb in the same way, pardon my disrespect, is the way Batista goes out. Dexter, not having many options, ends up releasing Batista from the kill table, but in utter shock, Batista doesn't take cover. He doesn't try to go for Prater, who is quite literally trying to kill him. No, he runs directly for the one guy who just saved his ass, Dexter. Not only that, Angel starts fully beating Dexter to death, which in my opinion was just so out of character, considering we've never seen a glimpse of this beforehand, and all of a sudden he now has some type of Spartan rage. Now, I'm not gonna say it's not understandable considering he wants to avenge all of his past friends who died, but where I do have to give the show props is how they killed him. When you see the first bullet hit, you think to yourself, okay, he could probably outlive that, but from one to another, the damage just gets worse and worse, to the point where you're begging for them to stop. Almost as if he was getting killed slowly right before your eyes, where at some point you cross the path of no return. This was done pretty good in my opinion. And if that wasn't enough, the last thing we get is a scene of Dexter holding Batista as he bleeds out, where Dexter admits that he didn't actually kill Maria, Deb, and the others. But Batista doesn't care because he feels like Dexter was the reason they got killed in the first place. The very last thing we got was Batista saying, you, Dexter, and honestly, I think that is really going to change Dexter for the worse, since he's now back in that cycle of where he lets someone he cared about die because of his ever-needing urge to kill. This episode was brutal, man, and I really didn't think that Batista would be killed off right then and there. However, I am extremely curious as to what the finale will now be, because episode 9 almost felt like one in and of itself. If you enjoyed this video and would like to become a member of the channel for only $3, please go check out the perks and see if it interests you. Be sure to like and subscribe, and join the Discord to discuss all your favorite pieces of media. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.